Hi everybody, Russell Markham here from VectorVest. Please note there our financial services guide. You can find that there per our website, along there with our license numbers. Just next slide here, moving on here. I can't give any personal advice, so please do speak to your financial professional. Past performance not a guarantee of future results. Forecast backtests used or discussed in this presentation are intended as a guide only. Actual results may be affected by known or unknown risks and uncertainties, and therefore may differ materially from the results ultimately achieved. All right, let's jump into it. So for this week here, I've got Temple and Webster. And Temple and Webster, I'll bring up the article shortly, is looking to take on Bunnings in the home improvements business game. It's a big, lucrative industry. You can see Temple and Webster here. So what I've done is I've brought up the graph there. All right, so you just on your graphs tab, add new, and then you can type in tpw.ax and press enter on your keyboard, and it will load it up. What I've done here is I've just gone back in time, so you can see at this point in time here I've got the earnings on. So in your graph layout, you can put on a VectorVest layout if you choose, or you can choose a simple layout. Just remove that there. I saw the technicals were sliding and we saw the share price slide away. So if you put on, say, a VectorVest layout there, and what you can then do is you can come on and put on the earnings and take off all the other indicators. Right click and make an area graph and change the style. So that's what I've done here, just to perfect my layout. All right, and the reason why I'd gone back in time over here is because we saw during COVID earnings really taking off. A lot of people were working from home, were in lockdown due to COVID. And of course, what you do when you're at home and in lockdown, you start realizing all the things that you need to be comfortable at home. So a lot of people were working from home, so they needed things like a better desk and a better chair to work from, other things like possibly an air conditioner or a new lamp or a new rug or whatever it might be. So it shouldn't surprise you that earnings really took off during that lockdown period. Temple and Webster offer good quality home furnishings, furniture, rugs, whatever it might be, but they're not in the home improvements game. And you'll see over here, since sort of COVID sort of slowed down somewhat, you can see the earnings have really come off. How can I describe it? The frenzy leading up to COVID and during COVID to really improve our home conditions as such, that's abated somewhat. And investors now are sort of watching their pennies. We're seeing, interest rates rising, so that's impacting on ability for those to pay their mortgages. If you're on a floating rate, or you're about to come off a fixed rate onto a new floating rate, whatever it might be, so that starts impacting. Is this because of it? Possibly. It has a big role to play. So it looks to me like Temple and Webster saying, well, okay, earnings are under a bit of pressure. Where else can we go? So we benefited very nicely from COVID in terms of people needing more home furnishings. So they certainly furnished their home. But what about home improvements? And the weekly essay went on to note some of the key things behind the home improvements industry. It's a very important industry out there. There are a lot of first home buyers that are doing some basic renovation work. Of course, there are a lot of existing homeowners doing a lot of renovation work too. So with that said, for this week, what I want to do here is just go through some of the key items here. I'll just close this advertisement out here. And what I want to do is I want to show you, let's see if I can scroll down over here. This was the key one I wanted to show you. Sorry, it's popping up with an ad there, but a new challenger is taking on the Bunnings warehouse empire with a huge range of home improvements products such as fans, lights, bathrooms, bathroom vanities, kitchens, fixtures, and wallpaper, and much more to come. All right, so you can see here, online furniture retailer Temple and Webster on Wednesday announced it was moving into the $26 billion DIY space with the launch of a new business called The Build, no doubt aiming to claim some of the renovators who would otherwise head to Bunnings. Brave move. All right, we'll come to that shortly. So it's a new brave business venture. Let's see how it unfolds. But before we jump into that, let's do this. Let's have a look here. Another article I came across, I'll scroll up the top here. Home renovations continue to surge in Australia. All right, now this was written a couple of months back, but the quarterly Westpac Housing Pulse report released in the last week of May shows the housing market across Australia is in a boom. Now this was, of course, before the recent slowdown. All right, so let's see if it gives us a date there. But this was written just a couple of months back, right? So there was a boom, as we recall, during COVID. Housing prices surged up. Let's have a look at another report here. Came across here. 52 billion cash inflows expected in home renovation market in 2021. Now, of course, we're in 2022, but some of that's still flowing through in 2022. So you can go on and read that there. We've included all these links in the weekly essay. Next one here, renovation spending tops 12 billion. This was written recently, April the 21st this year, 2022. Australians have pumped record amounts of money into renovating their homes during the pandemic period. The Australian Bureau of Statistics figures shows that Australians spent more on renovations in 21 than they have ever. So over the last 50 years. Isn't that interesting? In 2021, homeowners spent a whopping 12.3 billion on their homes, up 33% on 2020, and almost double what they were spending just 10 years ago. All right, so big lucrative industry. You can see the attraction for Temple and Webster. We come back to their share price, their earnings. Our management stepping into this industry to turn those earnings around. Now, we all remember what happened. Now, let's see if I go back here. Remember what happened here. Let's see if I can close this advertisement and jump out of here. Let's close it out. See if it allows me to view. Anyway, okay. So we all remember what happened with Masters. Remember that was Woolworths' arm, Masters there. And as the article went on here, news.com.au, Masters is dead, buried, cremated. Well, almost the ultimate fate. This was just before they collapsed. The ultimate fate of the failed home improvement chain, 63 stores and almost 7,000 employees, hangs in the balance after Woolworths finally pulled the pin on its 4-year, multi-billion-dollar experiment. Now, bearing in mind, Temple and Webster is going to be going into the space. So, let's look at what went wrong. Will it happen to Temple and Webster? Temple and Webster, no doubt, of course, their management will be well versed on exactly what took place with Masters. They are obviously confident that they can do things much better. All right, so what went wrong? If you believe the customers, the staff, the range, and the store layout all contributed. That's according to the feedback from unhappy customers that provided consumer research, CanStar Blue, their feedback, right? So some of the feedback was hard to locate what you're looking for. Lots of cheap and nasty rebadged brands, wrote another. Right, so anyhow, you can see that Temple and Webster certainly got their work cut out for them. The home improvement industry is a big industry. I've got no doubt, I'm in no doubt, should I say, in regards to where I think it's headed. I think certainly home improvements will continue to remain a very important aspect here in Australia. I can't see that going away anytime soon. And as things get tougher with rising interest rates, I don't think that's going to sort of slow down the desire for a lot of us to do DIY. It seems to be in our psyche, in our DNA. We here in Australia love DIY. Why not? It's a great thing to get your hands dirty on the weekend, and often if you've got the skills, you can save yourself a fair bit of money. So it's certainly a very strong industry here in Australia, and time will tell whether Temple and Webster are able to compete with the might of Bunnings. Bunnings has got a big market share in a big industry. Time will tell. So what we'll do here is we'll keep our eyes open here on the earnings for Temple and Webster. Let's see what takes place. The other place to have a look at too is GRT, the earnings growth rate. All right, so we'll keep an eye on GRT if that starts to turn around. Certainly things are in the play for Temple and Webster. They've got some big opportunities. Time will tell, and I think there's been plenty of lessons learnt from Masters. So I'll wait with interest to see how they're going to fill that space going forward. They certainly offer very good products and services as it stands, and let's see how they take on that home renovation space. So keep your eyes peeled. Interesting times ahead for Temple and Webster. Hope you get a lot out of it. Until next week, bye for now.